Well, I finally made a build using Stasis, and made it for PvP of all places. Now this isn't anything crazy or ability spamming or broken. All I've done is paired the Mask of Bakris with Coldheart and some fragments. Now I've seen online that people are suggesting Coldheart should be changed to Stasis damage, which got me thinking, why not run Coldheart in conjunction with Stasis as is? So that's what I did, and it worked beautifully. Coldheart has the perk Longest Winter. Coldheart's laser does exponentially more damage the longer it remains on target. Normally this doesn't come up much in Crucible because most Guardians die right as the damage starts to ramp up, or they use an ability and interrupt the laser. The only time Longest Winter really comes into play is high resilience Guardians, and Guardians that are in their supers. Its other perk is Cold Fusion, where it shoots a steady cold fusion laser. And if you have the Catalyst, it helps a great deal on console by getting the stability up to manageable numbers. Now, as previously mentioned, I paired this with the Mask of Bakris, and it has the exotic perk Light Shift. Replaces the Stasis subclass dodge ability with a longer range, faster moving shift that partially cloaks you during use. After shifting, your arc weapons deal increased damage to combatants for a short time, and you deal increased damage to all slowed or encased combatants. And this is why I think Coldheart should stay an arc weapon, because it works in conjunction with Mask of Bakris as it currently is. Now since I'm running Stasis, there's a couple of options on how to modify it. Personally, I like using the Duskfield grenade because it slows combatants and doesn't outright freeze them immediately like the other grenades do. For aspects, I use the Shatter Dive and Winter Shroud. Since I'm not using the Glacial Grenade to Drewski Dunk, I'm only using the Shatter Dive for mobility and to shatter opponent stasis crystals. Winter Shroud is very useful with the Mask of Bakris because dodging slows nearby combatants. Then for the fragments, I used Whisper of Hedrons. Gain a bonus to weapon damage after freezing a target with stasis. Now it does give a -10 to strength, but that gets cancelled out by the other fragment, Whisper of Durance. This fragment grants increased duration of all slow effects and gives a +10 bonus to strength. Now there are several reasons why I really liked this build, the first of which is that it makes Coldheart viable in Crucible. I mean, when was the last time you were killed by a trace rifle in Crucible, especially on console? It's probably been a while, like back when Prometheus Lens was melting everything in Curse of Osiris a long time ago. Now, trace rifles are rarely used in Crucible, and on console they have very little stickiness, so getting consistent hits on moving targets is nigh impossible. But having all of these abilities that slow enemies down gives Coldheart a chance to get some hits in. Which brings me to the second reason I like this build: it's not oppressive. I'm not shattering entire fire teams with a well-placed Drewski Dunk. I'm not abusing sliding through crystals or Warlock melees. I'm just using Stasis like a Hunter's Tether or a Titan Suppression Grenade. Disorienting and annoying, but there is some counterplay in there. This uses Stasis to enhance the gunplay of Coldheart instead of using Stasis to absolutely dominate opponents. Now, something that I noticed while playing is that people are really skittish around Stasis abilities, and there is good reason for that, but that's another discussion for another day. Most people I encountered when tagged with the slowing effects of Stasis would often try and run like hell. So about half the kills I got with this setup were from shooting people in the back as they tried to escape. Trace rifles have an abysmal time to kill, and on a 1-to-1 duel with any other weapon, the other weapon will win almost every single time. But because of Stasis being broken and overpowered at the moment, people would often try to reposition rather than duel with it. Which segues nicely into the next topic of how to counter this. It's almost impossible to hip-fire Coldheart at close ranges, especially on console. If your opponent is smart though, they'll get in close. I had this one match where this one really clever Guardian figured out what I was doing and would use the terrain and cover to rush me every chance they got, which would make me then have to hip shift and rotate to try and counter them. Bit of a side note, it's always nice to find an adversary in PvP. I have learned a lot over the years watching people kill me repeatedly. Now you could use Charge with Light mods to make this even better. There are mods specifically for trace rifles that actually stack. Weirdly enough though, some auto rifle perks work with trace rifles. Kimber Prime has an excellent video on what does and doesn't work. I'll leave a link in the description to her video down below. And if you want to keep with the ice theme for this setup, there is always the Cold Front Kinetic SMG, as well as the Avalanche Heavy Machine Gun. But thank you for watching and stay safe out there. And if you really liked it, give subscription a consideration. Thank you.
Captured Zone A. That's a power play. You took them, now hold them. Zone C lost. Victory is all I ask. Good. Your victory gives the city hope, Guardians.